Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And welcome back, everybody. So many of us are concerned about our bodies, our health, our fitness. Have you considered your mental fitness? We're going to talk about that today, but especially for anybody that is an executive. Let's say you lead a team, you own a business. Let's say that you're in charge of a nonprofit. We're going to talk with somebody today that can totally support you as a coach in all of these areas and so much more. Going to get a lot of insight today from Carey, and she joins us today on the program. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm real good.
I got to dig right into those two words because I can't believe I've never heard those two words, mental fitness. I have an idea what they might mean, but I'm not really 100% sure. How would you define that?
Your capacity to face challenges with a positive mindset rather than a negative mindset. So that's really what it is in a nutshell. But to go into more depth in it, what they've done is they have had a lot of research that they've done, and they've realized that we have two parts of our brain that really at times can really mess us up. And the left side of the brain, where the limbic system is and the brain stem, is really that area of the brain where, all those self-doubts come into play, and where, when you are nervous or upset and it wakes you up in the middle of the night and you're saying, oh my gosh, I'm so anxious about this meeting that I'm going to have, and how am I going to handle it? Or you're going to have a difficult situation with a difficult conversation with an employee, or you have a teenager and you're struggling with how to handle a situation with them. Those are all things that come up, and we call that our saboteurs. And our mind is really self-sabotages us. And what happens often is that we ruminate about those negative feelings. And when you're doing that, nothing positive happens. You're not able to really to be strategic or figure out a plan on how to handle the situation. Because that part of your brain, it's just all those negative thoughts and fears, and they'll just keep you going and keep you spinning. So what you want to do is you want to start using the right side of your brain, which is where we learn how to be strategic, we solve problems, where all our happiness comes from, and all those positive thoughts. So it's really a different way to look at things. And what's really great is that they've done a study, like a huge study, like they studied over 500,000 people.
Wow.
And worldwide. And they found that the left side of the brain, sometimes there's a muscle there, and you can weaken it so that all those negative thoughts don't affect your life. So the goal with mental fitness, or positive intelligence, to put it a different way, is really your ability to weaken those negative thoughts and increase the positive ones. And when you're able to do that, what happens is if you're a leader, you can be at peak performance, okay? Your relationships are stronger. Your well-being is better. I mean, overall, you're happier.
So interesting and so important that this
Absolutely.
all is. And I get this visual of when you're dealing with a challenging situation, no matter what it is, the situation is in your mind, and it's just bing, 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 bouncing all over the place, and you can't even get a grip on it. You're just trying to figure it all out.
Absolutely.
But what I'm hearing from you and learning today, Karen, is that it's more a product of increasing the positive aspect or the positive feeling as opposed to trying to squash down the negative. and it's almost like the positive is going to win.
Well, when you weaken those negative thoughts, that muscle that's on the left side of your brain, automatically the
Hmm.
right side of your brain strengthens. And I want to give a plug for the person who created this because he's an awesome man. His name is Shirzad Shamin, and he wrote Positive Intelligence. And he's the one that did all the research. He went to the same coaching program I did, and he's really amazing. And I have seen, even for myself personally, when I went through the program and the training, I saw how effective it can be personally for myself.
Hmm.
And I've had clients that have really improved their well-being and their mental health because of that.
Wow.
It's really exciting. And then what the program does, it allows you to really, it's sort of like mindfulness, but it's different in the sense than like, we have meditation, we have all these different types of things that we can use, different tools that we can use to help us. But what's really nice about positive intelligence or mental fitness is that Shirzad has created all these like 10-second exercises that you can do while your eyes are open. Okay. And you can do it anywhere. Like if you're in a meeting and you're stressed because of what the facilitator is saying, you can do some of these things and sort of get a hold of your emotions and not be a wreck.
Hmm.
So it's really good. I did them, but I guess I didn't do enough of them because when I started, I was really nervous. But it's really,
Every situation is different,
I
and
know.
I I don't know those techniques, but I've heard of other ones that you can do even in a meeting, right down
Right.
to the most simple thing ever is intentional breathing. Nobody's going to
Yes,
know you're doing it. And it's
absolutely.
scientifically proven that it resets. Then, of course, there's tapping techniques that your hand could be underneath the desk and you're tapping to deflect what's going on so that
Right.
you can get a better grip on what's going on. Um,
Yeah.
Question about mental fitness. Now,
Uh-huh.
this is something, a learned skill. And as we said, there's a lot of different techniques involved in that. Do you strengthen the positive side of your brain to overtake the negative also by life in general? What do I mean by that? When situations present themselves and you realize, wow, I got through that. On to the next one. Oh, I got through that. Oh, I'm more resilient than I thought. Oh, I got that. I got through that. That doesn't rattle me anymore. Just on your timeline, you feel like you're progressing. Is that also helping shape that side of your brain?
Yes, yes. But I think that one of the things that we all need to realize is that that left side of our brain is always been there, all that fear. And an example of it, because some people will say, well, I really need stress to get me motivated to do what I need to do. And I would say to them, okay, if that's true, what do you say about the stress if you put your hand on a hot stove?
Hmm.
That's stressful, right? Now, and it's stressful, but it's only stressful for a second because you remove your hand or it'll burn up, right?
Right.
But you don't want to leave it there. So the stress that you are feeling like you need, it just really needs to be an alert system for you. Something that happens really quick and you like recognize it. You go, oh, that's my saboteur. That's my brain sabotaging me. So I need to stop. I've recognized it. I need to stop. And now I need to think about, doing, like you said, you could do some breathing exercises. There's a whole program of different things that you can do. And then you think about, okay, what is something positive that can come from this? Okay, now, obviously, with the hand on the hot stove, there's nothing really positive about that, except that you didn't leave it on there too long. But for other things, and I'll give you an example of a tragedy that's happened in the 80s. If you recall, the lady whose daughter was killed in an accident with a drunk driver. That was a tragedy. That was horrible. The girl was 13 years old. But the gift in that scenario is that the mother created MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. So that was a gift for her. And there's many of those kind of things. That's a really sort of a famous one that everybody has heard of. But there's all kinds of little gifts. People have failures. And sometimes they will just go on and have all those negative thoughts about themselves, thinking, oh my goodness, I'm just, I'm stupid, I'm no good, on and on and on, instead of recognizing that you failed, okay? It's not a good feeling. But then think about, what good has come from my feeling? Maybe it's so you can help someone else. Maybe you need to work on one aspect of that to make you a better coach or a better leader. But we tend to not do that. We tend to stay focused on the negative.
We're born that way. They were born that way. And
absolutely.
I look at here you are 2 years old, and everything they say comes from your childhood. Here you are, you're 2 years old. You walk up to the kitchen table. You can walk. Wow, wonderful. I'm going up the kitchen table. Oh, look at there. Salt shaker, pepper shaker. I'm going to pick those up. This is going to be great. I'm going to play with these. And what's the first thing you hear? Put those down. Put those down. Right away, there's a negative. And there's other things. So I think maybe that's part of our upbringing, that we gravitate to a negative side. They even say that one of the first memories, if you think about the first memory you have as a child, it's probably a negative memory because it's there to protect you. So you forget about all the good ones.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's, I will say in my journey, what you say resonates. And I used to be, more on the negative side. And then I started realizing how fast you can turn it off. I was driving in today. There's something confronted. Yeah, I was confronted with something, a situation I'm thinking about. I'm like, oh, really? Oh, man. And I'm thinking about it. And where normally it would last a day previously, before I started doing the work, if you will, it lasted maybe, I don't know, 10 minutes. And it was out of my head. And I'm not even thinking about it. One important note, this potential negative situation hasn't even presented itself. I'm thinking, no, it hasn't. It hasn't.
Think about how much time you waste.
There you go.
10 minutes.
Yeah, it is. Worry about it when it shows up, if and when. And they also say, and they do this research study, poll, if you will, every couple of years, that 92%, 93% of the things that we worry about doesn't even transpire, doesn't even take place. You're just literally wasting time and energy on it. So I did waste 10 minutes on it today. And if it happens to go down a negative road, and it's business connected, I'll deal with it then. And you know what? Then I will look at it as an opportunity to maybe put some fire under my butt and move in another direction, to whatever it might be. But I don't want to be that person that gets called out. Oh, Steve's the one with the rose-colored glasses. The glass is half full. Look at that. Be real. I don't look at it that way. I look at it as an opportunity. And in my experience, we're here to learn. We're here to learn and teach. What are you doing today? You're teaching us. We are learning. We pass it on. It's
Yeah.
those two things. That's why we're here. So when something goes unexpected, there is a lesson in it. If you look for the lesson, might not be easy, but it's in there.
Oh, and sometimes the lesson doesn't, or the gift, you don't even see it for
You don't see it.
another week or two,
Yeah.
or a month.
Or for a long time, you might
Yeah,
not see it.
absolutely. But then there's some things that we have to realize that if we don't have control over, we just need to accept them,
Yes.
because it's pointless to spend all that energy to worry about them
Yes. Yeah.
when there's nothing you can do about them. And really, the goal is you spent 10 minutes. The goal is really when you hear that negative thought or you have that negative thought, you spend 1 second. So you become aware of it immediately and you immediately change that thought.
I find in doing this kind of work and learning from people like yourself that time, 10 minutes, could have been 10 hours, could have been 10 days previously. And that time gets shorter. So as time goes on, same type of situation, I might only think about it for 4 minutes, and then it's out. Then I'm going to worry about it. There's a phrase, and somebody called me out on it the other day, and I want to present it to you. It is what it is. We hear that all the time. Many of us say it. Somebody said, well, you know what that means? That means you're accepting something that's unacceptable. And I said, I don't look at it that way. I look at it more as don't try to control the things that you can't control, because
Absolutely.
it is what it is. I can't control it. So whatever you want to say, that's what it is.
Yeah. Sometimes, you have to accept it, but then there's other times when you can say, okay, and I don't want to say politics as an example, but, you might not be able to control it, but you might be able to do something yourself to help solve a small piece of the problem.
Sure.
Because we all have capabilities, talents, and strengths, and we can take those and use them effectively to maybe just make one little change. And maybe that's all we can do, but we shouldn't just always just give up because we don't have control over it.
Or complain. Go on,
Right.
look at your social media feed and, a certain number of friends just complain about things and just repost negativity. That's all that is doing, in my opinion, just adding more negativity. Why do we want to do that? Karen, how did this happen for you? How did you jump on this road of helping people through coaching?
Well, I was an executive director of nonprofits for 32 years. And actually, of those 32 years, 28 of them were working with victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and child abuse. And then the last 4 years were working with runaway homeless kids and people who had mental illness and substance abuse issues. So when I started, I wanted to help people. That's all I knew. I went to college, I wanted to make a difference, like so many of us do. And I got into this and I just loved it. And I saw the need. And unfortunately, back then, because it was decades ago, there weren't many mentors. There weren't many other leaders. Nonprofits were sort of really small, hanging on by their thumbnails, They didn't know what they were doing. And I sort of got thrown right into that. I'd never been a director and I had to learn on my own. So I started reading, I love learning. And I started reading and going to trainings and I figured it out.
Wow.
And, now I absolutely recognize the need for training and mental fitness training and leadership training for nonprofit executive directors, for managers, for, the issue and so many nonprofits is they don't have succession plans. You know, leaders come and go. It's too stressful of a job. You know, so my goal is to help executive directors or leaders of small businesses really understand what leadership really, quality leadership that inspires and where the employees feel trusted and they can be successful at. I mean, since the pandemic, I would say that things have changed a lot, you know?
Yeah.
And nowadays, when people look for jobs, they're looking at the leaders of those businesses to see what kind of leaders they are. Because they want to work for someone who inspires them, who they trust, who is empathetic, who really appreciates them, who will, you know, provide them with opportunities to grow and to help them be creative. All those things, that's what they're looking for. And they're not going to stick around with any leaders who are more authoritarian.
What you offer is beautiful. And I've never heard anybody do what you do. And of course, you'll coach individuals, not just nonprofit, or CEOs or executives, but on the nonprofit side, it is completely unique. Other executive leaders, CEOs aren't concerned about getting people to volunteer. They're not concerned about getting donations. They don't have to worry about all of that stuff that's in your wheelhouse. And most importantly, if it's a nonprofit, you are helping others, which is a whole different energetic situation. You're not selling something. You're not selling products. And that's fine. This is a whole different situation that needs to be supported now more than ever.
Absolutely. And I'd say, you know, with all that you said comes an issue. And that often is at the board of directors, because you're passionate about the kind of services you're offering. Mm-hmm. They expect, and if you're a hyperachiever, which I am, which means that you will work 60 hours a week in order to get the job done. And your board often expects that. And it's this constant, you know, merry-go-round where leaders come and go because they don't last, because they get burned out. And that whole business of self-care and taking care of yourself is a really important concept that leaders need to have, and they need to model it to their employees. And it's just not for nonprofits, it's for every business.
So true. I get it because I'm on a number of boards of nonprofits. So I see it from that vantage point you just said. And it's so easy for people on a board to look at leadership. I'm just going hypothetical here, but I see where it can happen, where you might look at the leader and say, why are we doing it that way? Or you might say it to yourself, why is that happening? Why? A lot of times they don't understand what goes on, the pressure that is there. And again, when you're a nonprofit is there to help others, typically. That's it.
Absolutely.
It's different dynamic, and different responsibility for all, especially the executive leader. Wow. Learned a lot today from you.
Well, good.
Especially the left.
I love this.
Me too, because I'm fascinated by how the mind works, and especially the left and right brain. My biggest regret in that regard is I should have taken psychology in school. I didn't, and it's never too late. But
no, it's not.
When I was younger, I didn't realize the fascination there and what's going on and how we can navigate that to our best advantage. If somebody is looking to truly survive, not just survive, but thrive in life, how do they connect with you? How does that whole process work, Karen?
They can either email me. I would also suggest that they get on my website, because I have a whole section on blogs that I've written about mental fitness. They can email me, they can call me, any of the above. And I would say this, that what I usually do is I have a minimum of 6 months that I work with people. A lot of my clients, I have the long timers that stick with me, that have been with me for years, and their life journey, I've been a part of it. If it's ladies, it's while they have their babies, when they transition to one job to another, or even men who, like, sometimes they're not happy in their employment, so they're looking for other employment, all those kind of things. And we meet usually twice a month for 45 minutes each time to an hour, depending. And it's great. I mean, it is fun. But I think more importantly, people make changes, transformational changes, and it doesn't happen overnight. It just does not. And I'm not always a good fit for every single person, but I give people the opportunity, I give them space, and I ask them powerful questions to help them come up with their own solutions. Because I believe that people are resourceful and know the answers, but often we don't take the time to figure it out because we have busy lives. We're fathers, mothers, we have businesses. I mean, it goes on and on. We volunteer. And the last person that we think about often is ourselves and what we need. And coaching is really an opportunity for someone to say, oh, this is about me. What do I want? How can I make my life better? So it's a really nice opportunity for someone to do something for themselves.
Love it. I'm on your website now.
Okay.
The amount of the resources are amazing. I was a stickler saboteur.
I was okay.
Oh my gosh.
I'm a hyperachiever.
Right? Yeah. And I've let a lot of that go in the last 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
How? Because I did what they call the work. That's it. You're back to it, working on it, realizing it, making those changes where the limiting beliefs are and were. All I can say is it is so liberating and offers such freedom when you figure those things out. And I'm sure there's so many aha moments that you have with people that you work with.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, especially the long timers, as you said, that if they look back a few years ago, their lives are radically different because they figured out what they're doing. Not that they were doing anything wrong, but they may be doing wrong by themselves because they had so much more to give, but it was inside of them. They were holding it back. We're out of time. I could just keep going.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah. We're actually overtime, but I don't really care. Fantastic talking with you again. Share the website with everyone.
Sure. It's thrivecoachingandconsulting.com. And you spell it out. And, you spell the whole thing out.
Gotcha. Again, what you offer just alone for nonprofits or people involved in them is amazing in terms of how valuable it is. I've heard of lots of coaches in all different capacities. Never that. And
well, let me just share with you that positive intelligence has only been around since the pandemic.
Yeah.
That's when it started. All the research was happening prior to that. So it's really very new. And I'm lucky and feel really fortunate that I was able to get in sort of on the ground level of it.
It's so true. You did not hear that term prior to COVID. You just didn't. A lot of this, even the word mindset. How many people would talk about mindset?
I know. Absolutely.
But it's everything. It's everything. And
Sure
I'm gratified that people are finally realizing that this stuff is out there. Help is out there. I wish I knew. It would have taken me less time to figure this all out had I known, somebody like you exists. I never even thought about contacting a coach. Wonderful talking with you, Karen. Thank you so much for being here. And so much more to talk about next time we get together.
Absolutely. And I would say, don't just survive, thrive.
Absolutely. As we all should. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her?
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge?
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! Is now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend?
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.